Greetings once again, everybody. Welcome to the Frontstretch wrap-up post-Kansas to kick off the round of 8. Brian Nolen's my boy. He's with me. You took a little break from your yard work. What were you doing? Mowing the lawn, cutting down some trees? What was going on out there in Idaho?
Little bit of some yard work, cutting trees down, raking some leaves. It's a beautiful 55-degree day here in Boise, so it's perfect kind of weather to do that kind of stuff. What about you, my man? How are you doing?
Well, it's fall foliage season, you know. I figured we'd take the wrap-up outside for a little bit, enjoy the crisp autumn weather. So not a bad day here in the DMV either. And I'll tell you what, not a bad day for Joey Logano yesterday in Kansas either. You like that little transition?
Little nice segue there.
Yes, thank you. I want to start off with the package because you can't avoid it. And I know that's been this way for a couple of years, and the conversation, it's kind of like beating a dead horse. But you know, Jeff Gluck and a couple other people in the media and in the industry, fans alike, they were saying that, you know, yesterday's finish may have been a tipping point when it comes to the like or dislike of this package. Personally, I thought that it was a good race. I thought that the finish was good. It was compelling, but that doesn't mean that it was any less frustrating from my perspective watching it on TV, knowing that Harvick is leaps and bounds faster. He should be able to get around, but because of Logano's expertise in blocking and his manipulation of the air, he could not get by. And that seems to be the prevailing sentiment from everybody that watched that race. So I'll ask you your thoughts on the race as a whole, including the finish, and whether or not you enjoyed watching it.
I think the last time me and you did one of these was Kentucky, in which it was a terrible race but a great finish. And this one was kind of the opposite. It was an okay first two stages, but the last stage was dreadful. I mean, the past 40 laps, Logano was blocking, and you knew, like you just said, you knew that Harvick was faster. He just couldn't get past because of that dead air. It was so stuffy. It's like when you have a head cold and you try to get out and try to be like clear-minded, but you can't. That's like what Harvick felt, because he was behind Logano and just couldn't get that fresh air to get past Logano. It was frustrating, but I think for the first time, we're big on social media. I know you are as well as I am, but it felt like that Twitter and the NASCAR fans hit a breaking point yesterday. They were pissed, man. They were flat out angry yesterday. No ifs or bounds about it. It was absolutely awful from what NASCAR fans said on Twitter. I think this could be a breaking point for Steve O'Donnell and Steve Phelps to say, okay, let's take a step back. What can we do to improve this package to start out? What is it? Starting in Homestead next year after Texas, because this next week is going to be the last mile and a half race.
Yeah, I want to agree with you because, you know, frankly, I
want that to happen rather than going down.
But it's not going to happen. And, you know, I talked about Jeff earlier, but he talked about it on the Athletics podcast, The Teardown, and also in his top 5 column. But I may try to subscribe to his notion of like putting your energy elsewhere, because this is something that it's not like, seriously, it's not going to change. It was going to be changed at the start of next year, but because of the pandemic, next gen car has been delayed for another year. So the earliest that you're going to see, I guess you can say, a wholesale change in terms of the aerodynamic rules package of NASCAR Cup Series stock cars will be in 2022 when the next gen car arrives. Next year, you're going to have the same package. I understand that Darlington and Nashville are both going to have the 750 horsepower smaller spoiler package. But for the vast majority of races on intermediate tracks, this is going to be the package that is put in place. And again, I know we're beating a dead horse here. Brian, we have had this conversation on camera and off camera. It's very frustrating from our perspective. When you become a fan of the sport, you go into the media, right? And you want to be able to talk about the cool storylines and write about the awesome people, personalities that you get to know and discover. But when the talk of the town is all about the dirty air and the air bubble and you can't pass and this, that, and the other, and taking his line away and blocking his way to a championship 4, it gets a little bit repetitive. And frankly, it's just a lot of negative energy. And in 2020, dude, I'm sorry, I don't need any more negative energy in my life. So I think that we should just say, you know what? This is what it is. It's not going to change anytime soon. I don't like it, but me not liking it is not going to change anything. So I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. And even though this may be a tipping point for some people, it's not going to spur real change in the immediacy. It's not going to.
You keep talking to dead horse, and the difference is, as we're fans of NASCAR overall, it's different from our other fandom of other sports. You're a Washington football team fan. I'm a New York Jets football fan. We are both terrible. We are literally
awful, dude.
like what the Jets need to do better is be a better football team. They need to learn how to play better football. Plain of story. For
and
NASCAR,
fire Adam Gase, but yeah.
Oh, don't even start. That's
I know.
Tune in my negative energy elsewhere every single
Yeah,
Sunday.
we need positive vibes, Brian. You're right.
That disaster of a team. And that's what I want NASCAR to do. I mean, we saw it last week at Talladega. There's so many different storylines. This week, we're focusing on a pack, not certain drivers finishing top five, not Kurt Busch with a blown engine. We're focusing on something that is out of our control. And like you said, 2020, I can't have any more of this negative energy with my Jets losing by 24 again, our offense being non-complacent. I can't have any more of this negative stuff on Sundays, man. I just can't.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, as a Washington football team supporter, unfortunately, I feel your pain. But you didn't come here to listen to football talk. I know you came here for NASCAR talk. So let's get into the race winner, Joey Logano, who I want to make clear did everything he should have done and did it exceptionally well, by the way, to win that race on Sunday at Kansas. He blocked. He got Kevin Harvick in dirty air. His pit crew gave him the track position on the final restart to be able to control the restart, put it in his hands. He executed when the moment mattered, and he is now going to Phoenix with the chance to win a second career championship for him. I don't know about you, Brian, and tell me your thoughts, but Joey Logano won last time at Phoenix. We know he's going to be ultra aggressive, even if it's not in a make or break situation. And we know that he's gone into the championship finale, not being the favorite to win and come out victorious. I think if you're Harvick, Hamlin, or whoever the third person presumably would be along with those other two, I would have to be pretty scared the fact that I have to go up against the 22 car in the championship finale. I would not want to go up against him, especially now when he's got 2 weeks to prep for it.
We keep talking about all this bad package stuff. I feel truly bad for Logano because he did what he had to do the past 40 laps, and that was just block like he did at a Talladega or a Daytona, 40 laps from the number 4 car, and Alex Bowman in the final 2 laps. And yeah, his first win since pre-pandemic. He won at Vegas, he won at Phoenix, and then he's been MIA. He's been missing in action. We all know how aggressive he is. He was very aggressive at Daytona road course. He was very aggressive at the Roval. Sure, those are 2 road courses, but he's always been very aggressive. And he said it after the race and the post-race Zoom call. This is huge for us because we don't have to scramble and get a car ready for Phoenix in 6 days. We have 2 full weeks to get this car the best we can. And he's going to Phoenix as the last defending winner. Sure, that was way before any of this awfulness happened in 2020, but still, he is coming to Phoenix in a couple weeks, the last winner. And I think Harvick, Hamlin, whoever that 4th guy is, definitely should be scared of that 22 car come 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, 2 weeks. And I also say one thing. If you're Alex Bowman, Martin Truex Jr., even Brad Keselowski to a certain extent, Chase Elliott, the last thing you wanted to see was Joey Logano win the race. If you're one of those guys below the bubble, you were rooting for Harvick and Hamlin once again. And even the next 2 weeks, that's what you're rooting for. That's what Harvick and Hamlin are rooting for as well. Even if both of them fall out, you're probably going to be rooting for the other to win, because if another driver below the cut line, presumably, were to win the race, forgot Kurt Busch too, obviously him, like that makes the playoff picture in terms of the bubble all that more clouded, because, you know, you look at Martin Truex Jr., he was one of my picks before the playoffs started to go to the championship 4. And now I think he's over 20 points below the cut line. And if Joey Logano would not have won that race, he would have been around 15 or definitely under 20. So that's a huge seismic shift in terms of who is on the cut line right now going into Texas. People did not want to see Joey Logano win, but unfortunately for the bubble drivers, that's what they got.
Yeah, I think for Martin Truex Jr., who's 31 down, Alex Bowman, who's 27 or 28 down, and specifically Kurt Busch, who's 73 points away from 4th position, it is a must win. They have to win. For Brad Keselowski, who's only 8 points behind 4th position, I think he can get in. It's between Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski for that 4th and final position. Harvick's 31 up, so even if he does struggle at Texas or Martinsville, he has a little bit of a cushion. Hamlin's plus 20, so you get one bad result at one of those 2 tracks, it's red alert. You may have to watch out.
Yeah.
I mean, with that being said, though, Harvick has won at Texas multiple times. Hamlin's won at Texas. So both of them are going in next week with wins at this past track. We could see Keselowski get a victory. We could see Chase Elliott. But Kurt Busch said it very straightforward last night. we have to win at Texas. I mean, he won it a mile and a half in Vegas a few weeks ago. He just said it frankly. We got to go and win at Texas, and it's end of story.
Not out of the question, because you remember what happened last time we went there, right? Austin Dillon wound up winning the race on a 2-tire strategy call. Reddick finished second. So it's definitely not out of the question to see not just a bubble driver win, but definitely somebody outside of the playoffs that could potentially upset the apple cart as well. Speaking of Texas, man, we're going there. Wish we could have been there to enjoy all the action out there. Give me a little bit of a taste of what you're looking for specifically inside the playoffs, outside the playoffs. What should we be watching when we get to the Lone Star State?
First off, is it going to be a better race? I mean, literally, tires didn't have any sort of factor issue. And whether you got new 4 tires or even just 2 tires, it really didn't matter. So is that going to be an issue come this point? Bubble drivers versus non-bubble drivers. Is Keselowski, is Chase Elliott, is someone going to wreck blown engine? We haven't seen that ever. Not ever, I should say, in a long time. We saw that happen this past week with Kurt Busch. Can something out of the driver's control happen to them, get involved in a wreck? And then non-bubble drivers, we saw Austin Dillon win and clinch his ticket. Tyler Reddick second. We could see, puppy, and we could see definitely a couple of drivers potentially sneak in, maybe a William Byron, steal a victory. Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick. You never know what we could do or what we could see. I definitely think a non-bubble driver could potentially spoil it, but when it's all said and done, Dave, I think it's going to be 2 drivers in particular, that being Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. Could we see Bryan Keselowski or Chase Elliott? Sure, but I do think it's going to come down to the 2 strongest cars at the end of the day, which has been the end of the entire year, battle between the 4 and the 11.
Yeah, I'm tend to agree with you. And since you hear this dog going crazy in the background, that'll do it for this edition of the Front Stretch Wrap Up. Bryan, thanks for joining me, my man. Where can people follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Twitter at the Bryan Nolen. Also check out frontstretch.com, Stock Car Scoop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or go to frontstretch.com.
What a salesman you are. Well,
boom,
as he said, follow Bryan on all those social medias, myself as well. Front Stretch, subscribe on YouTube, support us on Patreon, do all those things that help us out and help us get to the racetrack in normal circumstances. Thank you, Bryan. We will talk to you guys next week on the Front Stretch Wrap Up.